I want to check and then.
Mm.
Oh, Eben is here. Good. Hi, Eben.
Hello.
Today is excellent. I like the quality of the video and the lightning also. This is great. Thank you very much.
All right.
I mean, for both of you, it looks great.
Mm.
All right.
So we will zoom in to our topic very soon. Just let me send a message to some of um our group so that they will know that we're already live. Mm,
Okay.
mm,
Just a minute. I'll be back.
no problem. All right, welcome everyone to today's live session with our two guest speakers, Osmond from at the University of Delaware in Newark. He's pursuing a PhD in mathematics. Um, and also we have our brother Ebenezer Boache, who is also at a university in Georgia. Um, today they're going to last time we had them, they talked to us about secure applying to fully funded masters and PhD programs, the things we need to go through, and how to um, identify potential funding programs, and then the preparations that we need to put into the application. In the course of the session, the issue of visa application, the interview and stuff came up, but for the want of time, we deferred that for another time. And today is the time we allocated to have this discussion. And before I let them speak, we realized from the previous um, we realized from the previous session that Ebenezer had two different experiences. The first time he was sponsored or he had a fully funded program, yet he was denied visa application. And um, for our brother Osmond, he had previously engaged people with experience and they directed him as to how to go about the visa application. And so today we are here to go into details about the visa application process, the documents one will need to be able to apply for the visa, and also what the expectations of the visa officers are in terms of the interview session. What did they are looking out for, so that it will guide future applicants or prospective international students to prepare adequately for this part. Because as I indicated, getting funded program or even getting admission is one thing, but getting the visa to travel and pursue your dream program is altogether a different ball game. And so I want to welcome Eben and Osmond.
Thank you very much.
So we will start with Eben. Probably our viewers today are not the same as those who joined us last week. So kindly introduce yourself and tell us where you are and what you are doing at the moment in
All
terms
right.
of your academic career. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. I started my high school at SDA Senior High School, Bantama, and then
Eben, it seems there is an echo or some feedback from
feedback.
your, yeah.
Oh,
You are in an enclosed area, right?
yeah. I've come to like the larger hall because
Okay.
my room light is not that bright, so I'm using
I
the
think you
hall.
are audible enough. You are
Okay,
audible enough, so go ahead.
but still the feedback comes right.
And not exactly feedback, but some a sound from the background. Osmond, do you hear same?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so bad.
but it's fine. I think we
Okay.
can manage it.
All right. So I started my high school from SDA Senior High School, Bantama, Adas. And then I proceeded to the University of Cape Coast for my bachelor's, where I read Bachelor of Education in Religion and History. Then from there, I proceeded to do my MPhil there again at UCC right after my national service. And I also continued to read MPhil in religious education. From there, I then went to teach at Aguna SDA Senior High School at Aguna in the Ashanti region, and also I got the opportunity to teach at the college, NT College of Education. So at NT College of Education, in this that is August 2022. That is where I got the opportunity to come to the United States to do another master's degree in student affairs and higher education. And then from 2022 to 2024, that is 2 years. Right after that, I proceeded to do my PhD in education, currently at the University of Georgia, Athens, USA.
Thank you very much for the background, and we appreciate your time. We'll come back to you, but for now, let's again listen to our brother Osmond.
For my senior high school, I attended Sum Secondary Technical School, now Sum Senior High Technical School. And then from there, I went to Presbyterian College of Education, Ekropon Akuapem. Then worked as a JHS teacher for 4 years. And then on steadily with pay, I went to pursue my first degree at University of Cape Coast, UCC, and obtained a bachelor degree in mathematics education. Then from 2010 that I completed, I was a secondary school teacher. Whilst on the program, I decided to further up my education and then combined it with my teaching to pursue a Master of Philosophy in Mathematics Education at University of Cape Coast. Then in 2021, when I successfully completed and then had the opportunity, I transitioned to the SDA College of Education, Asokore Kufuridua. Then last year, 2024, I had the opportunity to come to the US, where I am pursuing a PhD in mathematics education at the University of Delaware.
This is great. And the fundamental thing is that both of you are pursuing further studies in the USA, which means that you have gone through the visa application process.
Yeah.
So now let's say that we have been offered admission, or there are people who have already been offered admission. Some have been offered admission with partial funding, some without funding. and others probably with full funding. Now the next step is visa application and processing. Um, can you, starting with Eben, share your experience with the visa processing um, during your application, during your two-time application with us? We cannot hear you. You are muted. Can you unmute yourself? And
I'm sorry. Thank you. So, with the visa application, I want to say that um, there are basic requirements and that you need to meet or you need to get before you can proceed to apply for your visa. Now, I want to take you through the basic, like the checklist for the visa application,
okay.
the important document that you need for your visa application. So your visa application, undoubtedly, passport is important. And with your passport, it should um, have been valid for at least 6 months after your interview. Yes. So we need to take note of that. And you will need a form called I-20. So the I-20 is the document from your school that states you've been admitted to a full-time program and have enough money or funding to stay in the United States. You also need your what we call DS 160 confirmation. So the DS 160 is basically the application form that one of the important documents that contains every information about you, who you are, your family background, your academic background, and most especially, I want to, try to remind me, or if I can chip in, the importance of the DS 160 as well as your interview. I want
Okay.
to stress this, the DS 160 and your interview. There are some small tricks that people do not know, others may know, but sometimes we also forget. So that's the printed copy. You need to have that printed copy form. It will contain who is sponsoring you, whether you have full funding or your partial funding, who is sponsoring your trip to the United States. You need that. And you also need what we call service fee receipt. Now, the service fee is, I think currently is 350 or something. I don't know the exact amount, but
US
it's,
dollars.
yes, US dollars. Yes, you need that. And you need that receipt. So you need to pay that and you need to get a receipt, printed copy from the service website that they will send you an online form. And with the service, you need to pay this. Mostly, this is one of the important things. You need to pay as soon as you see that you are ready to attend your visa interview. If you are not going for the school, then I will advise you don't. If you are going, then you need to. And also, let me also come back to the visa payment, the amount involved. I think it is currently $185. $185. So you need to calculate the $185 plus the 350 service fee. These are some of the basic things that you incur. You need to get that amount there for yourself. Also, you will need photograph, a passport size photograph that meets the US regulations. I think mostly they request for 2. So you need that. And if you have written any official test scores like the GRE, the IELT, the TOEFL, or whatever. And also you need the diploma and other certificates. I mean your bachelor's or diploma certificates and your transcript. These are also essential. With this one too, the official ones are the required ones. You need to send your official transcript and your official certificate. I'm talking about the original. Yes. And you also need your bank statement and other proof of finance or funding like funding letter from your sponsor. if maybe your mother is sponsoring you, or your uncle or brother or whoever is sponsoring you, you need a letter from them, a letter that is written and signed. Those who are unable to sign, they can use the thumbprint. It is very important. And even those who are in official positions who have stamps, you use stamp on it. But stamping is not compulsory. It depends on whoever is sponsoring you, the position they occupy. But the least of it, it should be at least thumbprint or signature. And you also need the visa appointment letter, because you will schedule the interview date. And when you schedule for the interview date on the US visa website, you get a printout. You need to print out your visa appointment letter. These are the basic things that you will need before going to the visa interview. These are the basic things. Now, coming back to the DS 160 and the interview time, that's where I ask you to remind me. One crucial thing about the DS 160 is that you are telling them about yourself. So the trick here is that if you are the things that you are stating, it go to their portal, and these are the things that they are looking on it to ask you questions. This together with your I-20 as well as your other document. But remember, the first thing that they open their portal to see is the information that you provided on the DS-160. So by the time you go and stand before them, they open your information, everything that you listed are there. So, for instance, you'll be asked who is sponsoring you. And if you indicated that maybe my uncle, Dr. Enoch, something, and then on the sponsorship letter, maybe on the day that you are going, something came up and you had to change your sponsor. Remember that you indicated on the DS-160 that your uncle Enoch is going to sponsor you. Now, this is the situation I am going with my other uncle Osmond's information. Now, on a hook or some. So here, it is like you have lied. But sometimes it may not necessarily be that you lied, but something happened, which is normal in life. In this, the thing that you need to do when there is this change is that you need to resubmit a new DS-160 before going.
Okay, well noted.
That is one thing, because remember, they don't know you, but you have committed yourself to them. It is like, I brought myself, kill me. That's basically what you're saying. So that is how, these are some of the intricacies you should know. So now come back to my own situation. In 2020, that's where I got my first opportunity to attend the visa interview. So I had my full admission and GA offer, which the funding covers everything. So I did not have a deficit on my I-20. Like I've already said, that this is the I-20 that is containing everything about your admission, funding, opportunities, whether you have funding. So it is on the I-20 where it will be stated whether you have a deficit or not. They will not write deficit, but you have to do the calculation, because the required amount that is needed to attend the United States system education is all provided. I think that is on your left-hand side. And what you have also provided, whether you have scholarship, what we call assistantship, is on your right side. Therefore, it's like calculate all the things on your left side, that is the required things that you need, and subtract all the things on your right side, that is the deficit that you get. So if you see that everything on the left side matches with everything on the right side in terms of the amount, then you don't have any deficit. That is it. So you need to calculate this to know how much do I need in terms of bank statement that you will send. Because if you are sending a bank statement that is below the required amount, you should know that there's a hole in your application.
All
Therefore,
right.
if they deny you, yes, you don't have sufficient amount to send, and they will give you the 214B form. Now, with mine, I had everything correct, no deficit, and I had a bank statement to be submitted during my application. And so that was when I had to attend the interview. All my documents were intact and accurate. There was nothing wrong, but I was denied. Ask me why. When I got this, I came home and I saw that when I was reading the 21B form, there's a white sheet. When you are denied, they will offer you. That is what contains the reason for being denied. Now, another thing too is that the white sheet does not state categorically or specifically that you did not have enough funding, but it's like which it has a pool. It's their regulation. They say that according to the regulation 214B Act something something, you have not provided sufficient, or you are not eligible. You are being found ineligible to be given the visa.
That is like a general uh, um, feedback they give for
Exactly,
rejection. Okay.
exactly. So it doesn't categorically say it is your duty to come back and sit down to go through. Like, I have everything. Then what was it? These are the things. So it was me. I read over the thing again, like every 2 weeks or every week. I go and pull the paper and read on it.
Mm.
But I have everything. So it was as a result of my inquiry that I came to realize that my mistakes were my responses during the interview questions. Because
Okay.
remember, you are not giving about, even you may not have about 5 minutes, 4 minutes. The maximum they spend on you will be about 3 minutes. And so they ask you basically about three things. Who is sponsoring you? Like, I remember exactly my question. Okay, you are going to this school, you are going to do the yes. Who is sponsoring you? My uncle. Listen to my response.
I will come to your interview session. I will come to the interview session.
Right.
I'm going to go to Osmond so we
Okay.
can talk about the application for the for visa and booking the appointment.
Right.
Last
Okay.
time, last time he started giving us some hint on the application process for the
Right.
for
Right.
the student visa after admission,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then right after him, I will come for us to continue on the story you were
Right.
telling us. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
thank you very much.
Okay. So I will add a bit of information to Ben's issue with regards to the document.
Okay.
It was during the interview preparation that I realized per the visa interview, they have two categories of students.
Mm-hmm.
We have one group that they call them the traditional students. They
Okay.
don't have a break in their academic program or like their schooling.
Journey, academic journey.
Yeah, from first degree, maybe in Ghana, you do your national service, you move on to your master's
Masters.
degree. From your master's, you go to your PhD. And then we have the non-traditional, which I fell into that category. After my first degree, 2010, I was employed and teaching. Then in 2014, I went back to school and managed teaching and then schooling. Then from that case to I came back to still be on employment after my second degree. So I was not a traditional student because there were breaks in my academic history. So it means in your DS 162, you need to fill those gaps, which are the employment history,
Okay.
so that it will complement the school history. And those documents are like supporting documents that you need to add, such as your
Appointment letters.
appointment letter from your university or the college I was teaching at. to prove that yes, I am employed there.
Mm-hmm.
So evidence of employment should be known, and then the appointment letter. So those documents per se are supplementary documents. If you are asked to provide, fair enough. And with my background too, I was married, or I am married, so to say. So I had to add up my marriage certificate.
Okay.
And those are like home ties opportunities that comes in. So if
Okay.
I am of the view that I am married and then I have kids. So after my program, I'm coming back to Ghana to reunite with my family and then back to my work sector. What evidence proves so?
Okay. Good point and well
So,
noted. Now,
okay.
when I gain admission, can you take us through how to apply for the visa and book appointment? Can you help us in that aspect?
Okay, Ben touched on most of the documental part, but
Yeah.
in booking the appointment, I know around the last quarter of the year, the US changed the visa appointment platform.
Okay.
So currently, I am not much into the new system, but it's not
Okay.
quite different, I should say, with the old one. So you now have access to go online. You can Google book visa interview appointment, and then you get the login access
So
where you book the date.
here I'm looking at first, like Eben said, you have to go and fill a document they call the DS 160 form, right?
Yes,
Okay. And you provided some of the information that the person needs to fill
yeah,
in this
yes.
form.
But
All right.
it's too that we have the appointment schedule and
So
then the application
After the DS 160, then you can proceed to book appointment. Is that
book
right?
appointment. Yeah. But
All right.
currently, what I know is those two should be done. You should do the DS 160 before the appointment. I don't
Yes.
know if currently
Yes.
is correct that way.
Yeah,
But the old
it's
system,
still the same.
okay, the old system on my part, I booked the appointment, the application, and they had the code you will need to attach to the appointment schedule.
Yes, it's still the same.
So I didn't complete the whole application
Yes.
portal, but I needed the code for the appointment.
Okay. Now I get you.
Yeah.
So usually I think that there are some fundamental aspect of the visa application process, whether it's for students or not.
Yes.
And my experience was that you had to finish the DS 160 form, submit it, and then get the code. I think when you get a code for sure. You
Code.
Yes.
get a code. Oh, so
Yes.
you can use that code to complete the appointment booking and then go back and finish the DS.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so there are two ways to doing that. Okay,
Yes.
that's well noted.
And
That's well noted.
it's very okay to generate the code and book the appointment because the appointment availability in terms of date is very challenging for us in Ghana. So it's not surprised that some go to other neighboring countries or all the way to South Africa for their interview because their admission time and then the school reopening date are very close. So if you don't get any feasible date, then people try to exploit other opportunities that they can have their interview.
All right,
So
so there's a question coming here, and I would quickly want us to react, and then we can come back.
okay.
Some people are a bit confused about the DS 160, and they're asking if it's if it has its own website or something. I know that you can respond, but whilst you respond, I would also check it. Um, I will show the screen later on to the people.
Okay.
So if you can help them understand what that means.
Yeah. So when you just Google online DS 160 US visa application, it will generate, you by all means come across the very one that aligns or that is in line with the application appointment. Uh, so what happens is, in terms of the date booking, which is when you go for your interview date, I remember I had my first school admission in February. And when I started the appointment booking, my date was all the way 18th November, which means the start of school date, which was in August, I was not able to get a convenient date. So the view was then you choose that date and then hunt for a better date, because along the line, the US Embassy will update their portal with new dates.
All right.
However, going over 2-3 weeks, okay, you can show this and then I come in.
Thank you very much. So those of you who are asking about the DS160, what it is and how it looks like, and whether it has a different website, the DS160, like they said, you can just Google it and it will come. It will come as an apply for non-immigration visa, and whatever visa category you're going to apply for, whether student or not, you need to fill this form. And filling, let's say this form is like the form you will fill for your school application, whatever. But this time it's just filling the information purposely for visa. And Eben has already given us some of the information that you need to provide: your personal information, your address, if you have any contact in the USA, the purpose where you go in, the address where you will be residing, and all those stuff. At every stage, you will have instruction to guide you uh, as to what to provide, and there is always help when you are confused about what exactly they are requesting. You can click on the help, and then it will give you some explanation. So that is it about the DS160.
It's really a self-guided one, which would not really merit a lot of assistance. You
Mhm.
only need some of these tricks about. Now, one thing that we should also note is about saving a copies of what you have, you have information you have provided. When
Mhm.
you get to the last stage of submission, it tells you whether you want to save a page. Now, on the saving, there are two ways of saving. If you
Mhm.
don't take care, you will click on one and it will save only, it will give you only the submission form or the one that you will send to the interview.
Oh,
Make sure
okay.
to
The
check that you
confirmation, the confirmation receipt.
yes. If
Mhm.
care is not taken, it will only give you the confirmation one, but make sure that you are saving all pages of what you have done, so
Wow.
that if not nothing at all, you forget anything, you can visit it when you are about going for the interview. So you visit, okay, I put the information, I put this, I put this, I put this here. I need to, these are the basic things that I need to keep with myself. As Osmond is saying, whatever, if you are a traditional student or a non-traditional student, all these things, every information is provided on the DS160. Therefore, whether you are traditional or non-traditional, you'll be judged based on what the information you have given. And therefore, it is essential to have a copy for yourself of all the previous pages that you have filled so that you
Wow.
can visit them, because it may take about 5 months for you to go to the interview, which you may probably might have forgotten
Forgotten.
some basic things that you put in there. But remember, you'll be asked about it. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you very much. This is very good because this saving part, I have done it 3 or 4 times, one for myself and for different people. I didn't know how to retrieve um all the information that I provided. So I was lucky that maybe I already knew. And honestly, I think after submission, even when you go back to log in here, you are not going to find the data. The only thing you will get is the confirmation page. So
Exactly.
this
Exactly.
point is very important, and you should take note of it. You should always save, like Eben is saying, save the detail of the information you failed, so that you can always refresh your memory based on that. And to Sally, the DS 160 is not provided or is not issued by the university. If you go to the US Department of State website, you will find it there and fill it. So there is a document that will be issued by the school. I think they will talk about it in the course of the discussion. So stay tuned, and then let's continue. Back to Osmond, please.
Okay. So because of my first appointment date, which was 18 November, and not favorable for my start of school, I needed a better date. And to do that, one option was to keep checking the appointment portal. If the embassy releases a new date that are favorable, then you change to the better date. But I kept working on for about 2 to 3 weeks, and it was still the same. So I interacted with a friend who said, oh, just within that week of our interaction, he had that same experience, but he sought for an expedited date, or what we call the emergency appointment. And then he was granted within 24 minutes. So it's a
24,
50,
24 hours.
24 hours, sorry. So it's like a 50-50 risk. But it was better. I also went along that path. So I sent an email to the embassy. You write a letter, the reason why you need an emergency appointment, because you say your date of schedule is not favorable to the start of the school date. Then you attach your I-20, which the embassy will get to know that truly what you are saying is in evidence on the I-20, as well as your admission letter. So these were the two documents I attached to the application. And then
Let me chip in something. In addition to that, mostly, I mean, previously, mostly the embassy issue a communique to the general public that if your school start date, your school has already started but you've not gotten your visa, you need to communicate to your school. Then they issue you a letter of support where, Osmond, you can add it to that letter, or you are that email that you are seeking for emergency or expedited date, so that it will be like part of the proof of evidence that school has already begun, or your school will begin whilst you have not gotten your visa. So that is essential. And then there are two ways. Some of the school update your I-20 for you. Some of them too will not update the I-20, but they will give you a letter of support. Both of them work. Either of them works. So there's no panic. Only communicate to your school to be on a safer side, because sometimes too, the embassy will not issue any communique. So the onus lie on you to send a letter to your DSO, your international office of the school, that this is the situation here. So I need, in my case, that's what I did. Even as at before, I had not gotten that information from the embassy, but through a friend's advice, like Osmond said. So I sent the email to my office, and they told me that for the school, they will not update the I-20, but they will issue a letter of support. Sometimes, let's take note very well. At some point, sometimes some of the DSOs may prove difficulty in getting you these two. Now, at some stage, I had to email my program coordinator that this is the situation, so that my program coordinator send a message to the DSO to issue me that letter, because the program coordinator cannot issue that letter because the embassy does not deal with program coordinators. They know point of contact of every school, that they know that in this school, these are names in our system that we need to contact them, but not program coordinators. Therefore, it is, but the program coordinator can have conversation with your DSO to issue either an updated I-20 or a letter of support so that it will prove as evidence. Me, I had that in applying to my emergency. When I got emergency, when I was going for the interview too, I added that. Now, another point too is that, let me chip this in before we forget. During the interview, they may not ask you about any letter of support if it is not an updated I-20. It is your duty to add the letter of support to the I-20 when they ask that, let me see your I-20, then you add the letter of support because they may not ask you. And in fact, when especially there are a lot of people, they want to do away, that they finish you quick because your school has already begun. So what are you going to do? In my case, my school had already begun classes getting to 1 month. So 3 weeks into classes that I went, on the 22nd of December, on 24th of August, and I landed here on 25th. That was almost a month to a classes beginning. So I had this to go, and that helped a lot. Sorry, Osmond, continue.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
so
what
I
they
get
above, what our guests are above saying is that first, when you apply for you book an appointment for the visa, and then the appointment date is far from the date where you
School is
would have
beginning.
to start, where school is beginning. You have option. There is an option that would be a request for expedite appointment, and with this expedite appointment, they were telling us the documents and what you need to provide. I think there are other documents also that one needs to provide. You need to provide the service,
Let me,
service.
let me also chip in something quick. On the expedited appointment, in requesting for expedited appointment, there are two forms. You either email the US Department or their support services, or in the appointment section, when you are seeking for help, that you have the option to send your request, expedited or emergency request. You have it in the, so there are two ways. Some people email the support people through the normal email system, or in the appointment website or the appointment portal. Why? Because when you request through the normal email system, they create this request for you. So they said they have created your request receipts that they will attend to it later. So they create it for you in the system. So you either send through or via normal email or in the portal. Either way works, or even they can direct you that go to the portal and create it.
And you can only use the expedite option when you have booked appointment already, right?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Oswald, please continue. I have some
Then,
questions here. I will come back to them, but finish what you were saying before I take the questions here.
and within their own documents, they will say, I'm not quite sure if you can book the expedited service. It seems 60 days to the start of your program.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in my case, I did that in advance because I did
Okay.
the booking in March, and then the start of school was way in August. So there are sometimes gamble the situation and then see the feedback. That was what I would say the risk I took when the colleague said he has done it that way.
Yes,
And
I think that Osborne, on that, you were right, because when you realize that the school, your normal date exceeds the school start date, then
yes,
you are not wrong to request for expedited because you are starting school in August, but you got the normal date in September. How is this possible?
November.
In November? Therefore, you have the option to request for expedited. You don't have to wait until that 60. I think these are some of the small tricks that we
I
should do.
didn't know, and trust me, I did the same for someone, and it was rejected
Hmm.
because I was also waiting for this 60 days to the program
Yes,
before, and it was not
exactly.
even accepted. And probably, like you were saying, some of this support and all those stuff information we were not privy to, so we probably missed a lot of options
Yeah,
because
just do it right away. As soon as you see that your interview date is far in advance of academic classes, then you have the option or opportunity to request for expedited.
okay, I have some questions here. Let's take them quickly, and then we can zoom into the experiences. Okay. The first question is from Prince Apia. He's asking that when one is filling the DS 160, is it beneficial to disclose or not to disclose if you have a contact person already staying in the United States? I'm not sure if this is for school or for other paper, other visas. Um, for schools, usually the contact, if you mean a relative, that is different. But for contact person, usually I think it's the International Relations Office or the school provides some information on your I-20 that you should use as the contact. But if it's um if it's a visit visa you're talking about, I honestly, I honestly don't know if it is beneficial to disclose that you have a relative there or not. But I think you two, our guest, can also help us. There are pros and cons to indicating that you have a contact person there, but you cannot be too certain that if you state that I have a mother there, I have a brother there. In fact, if that person is the one who has invited you, probably you have to use that, you have to put it there. But if that person has not invited you and probably has not listed you as a relative or something of the sort in any official document at the USA, probably it's not necessary to put any person there. when I applied for my when I applied for my visiting visa, I think I know distant relatives, aunties, and stuff there. I didn't even have the address and information. I didn't put anybody there. I just used the conference that I applied, and I still got my visa. So I feel like if they are asking whether you have relatives and stuff, they mean for you UK specifically, they will state close relative and they will give example, you know. So even cousin doesn't even come as a relative when you're applying for the UK. So I feel like if you're dependent, if the person you know there is a relative, but you are not a dependent, you are not a son or a daughter, not parent child relationship, forget about it and then do it as though you don't have any
Yeah,
person there.
I think
That's
you are
my
very right. You are very right. Honesty is very key in your application. You probably just stated, for instance, like you said, if your dad, your mom, your close brother is there who has significant impact on you, what you are coming to do, why not? Why, what are you
exactly.
hiding from? So it depends on this. I would say, depending on the significant impact of the person on your life. For instance, in fact, let's say this: there are some people who may have their fathers in the United States, but
Hmm.
because their father did not take care of them, they don't count them as fathers. Therefore, they will cut them out. I don't have any relative there. It
Yeah,
depends on
yeah,
you
yeah,
how those people are important to you when you what you count them in your life. What role are they? So you don't just go about providing any information unnecessarily. Know what
exactly,
you are providing,
exactly.
because you really account for it when you go. So remember that everything that you are providing when you go, they ask you, you are able to account for. That's the key word. Me, I don't see any need, or I don't see any. What is the fear in if I say that my brother is there in the United
Is
States?
there?
I have
Mm,
my full funding. I'm going
mm,
to my school. What's the big deal? That is not to say because of that they will deny you visa. No, they only want honesty, and they see what is the essence of are you going to do. It's about your way of talking, how you communicate, you convey your information to them. That will help you best to either grant you or deny you.
Okay. Osmond,
Yeah.
answer this question again. It's a point you made, but someone is asking. I think he probably missed the first part. He's asking, what makes you a traditional and a non-traditional student? Just
So with
quickly
the
for this one.
traditional student is the straight way schooling after your first degree. Let's say you did your national service. After national service, you went in to do your master's. After your master's, you want to progress and do your PhD.
So
So
there is
there
no
is
gap
no break in the academic journey or
journey.
ladder. But the non-traditional, those of us, we go to school, we work, we go to school. Maybe you did even a distance program or a sandwich program alongside. So that accumulated break in your academic history should be answered if you are asked. And that can be answered by in your DS 160 if you have employment history that aligns with the break, then you make that case known.
Wow.
One thing that we also do not know is that the DS-160s are scored. They score them, the information we provide.
Okay.
So, yes. So
How
that
did,
one,
how did you know that?
you asking how will you know that?
Uh-huh. Oh,
You
and
don't know. These
and
are
how
some of
did,
intel, so their internal things that they
okay.
do that
Okay.
you do not have privy information to, or you do not have any access to. But so the way you are answering questions and the way you go about even your way of sentencing your statements count. If you are a teacher, and like Osmond is saying that there are breakages, you are a non-traditional student. So non-traditional student, they are fully committed to academic work. They enroll in full-time academics. But the traditional
The
student. But
traditional student.
yes, the non-traditional student, there are breakages. You break, you did this, you did this. Therefore, in these breakages, you should state you volunteered for maybe United States, whatever, or you volunteered for an NGO to do this, and as in your role, what did you do in your capacity? Okay, maybe I was the this, and that. You should provide them if you are a teacher, as much as in the case of Osborne, as a mathematics teacher, what were your duties? State them clearly in that section which requires you to submit your employment duties, or your employment information and history.
Wow.
And
Interesting.
when we get to the interview section, in my case, it will show up. So I will explain that at the interview session.
All right. Let's take a few questions here and then we can come back to us. What is the I-20?
I just sent you in the private chat a link to sample of I-20.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, oh, you see, okay, good. So, actually the I-20 it's a form submit, sorry, it's a form that will be provided by the university, right? But I think they will require, after the admission, they will require you to fill some information online, and they will use that information to prepare your I-20. Let me remove this,
No, the
and
second
then
link.
yeah, I will share the second
Right,
link.
right.
But
So,
otherwise, so I will, before then, let me take the next question. So whilst you answer that question, I can check the I-20 and then share
right,
it
let me
with you.
throw more light whilst you are searching for the next question. So the I-20 basically has your names, the name of your program, your program coordinator, and the university point of contact, what we call DSO, basically. So it also has information of your program start date. What is the title of your program? when is your program beginning and when is it ending. If it is a 2 years, which date and month is your program starting? That is why you are able to know whether when you make your appointment, it is on the I-20 that you will be able to know whether your school start date or your program start date comes before your appointment date. So that is basically, and it also contains your funding information. You have it there, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
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 okay, continue.
yeah, so what you were saying, I will let you talk. I'm just trying to scroll through so they can see some of the information. So you can keep your talking going.
Yes, so you can see that it says school information, which has a section for everything about your school, who to contact, and your school address. And you come there. Yes, so you can see that you are highlighting the service that we talked about. So every school and every student will have a service number. You will pay for this service before you get this code or number generated for you. And your university will know this service fee and they will use that to prepare your I-20. Everything, your date of birth, your full name, and then your program of study. What is the title of the program? What is the level at which you are going to do the program? What is your areas of concentration where they call major? And also who should be contacted, your program start date, and your financials. You see that what I was talking about, your financials, the details, the left side and the right side. The left side basically is about what is required for you to get your full studies, and
Oh,
the
okay.
right,
Oh, okay.
yes, and the right side is what I've been giving you, whether you are been given a funding or assistantship, or you have family support or personal support or self support. All these are provided on your right side. Therefore, you need to check the balance where the accounting people will say it has balance.
Mm-hmm.
If your left side, the required funding matches or balances your right funding, then you don't have deficit.
Okay.
So in this case, when you are going for the interview, if you even have about 10,000 Ghana cedis in your bank account, me in my time, I had 20,000 Ghana cedis, and that's what I printed to go. But
It's
because
sufficient.
my
Yeah.
funding, yes, my funding was, I had a full funding, so I only needed something to show that at least I have a backup.
Mm.
Yes, these are the things that you need to do. So, can you scroll down a little bit for doing at the financials?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, so here, no, yes, you can see that there is, I think, 52,000 or something, 32,000 or 27.
32,000. Thirty-two
Yes,
thousand.
32,000, and you can see the right side too, it is 32,000. It means it is balanced. Therefore, you don't have any deficit.
Mm-hmm.
Whether your family is providing the financial or it's a assistantship, you can see there's assistantship up there, and there's
Yeah.
another finance something or personal
Personal
funding up there.
funds,
Yes,
scholarship and teaching assistantship, and
right.
then funds from other person. There was nothing like
Exactly.
that.
All these things you should see. But if in case that the total on your right side is lower than the total on your left side, then this is where we call you have a deficit.
Okay.
So it means that to know your deficit, you need to subtract the total of the left side from the
From the
total of the right side. That is what is your deficit.
Okay. Thank
I
you
don't know if
very
it
much.
makes sense.
It makes sense. I
All
mean,
right.
we're looking at, let's say in practical terms,
Mhm.
you have been offered 20,000 funding, right,
Right.
by the
Mhm.
university,
Mhm.
and then your tuition and living expenses amount to
Mhm.
30,000.
Right.
So if you subtract the 30,000 from the
The
20,000 offered
20,
by the
20 from
university,
30.
no, so okay, yeah, then you have 10,000 to settle, which
Yes,
is something you must provide
exactly.
a proof of fund for, right?
And with this one too, when you are sending a bank statement to the interview, you don't need to provide exactly 10,000. You need to provide
More.
something higher than, yes, more than the 10,000 to show that at least I have in excess.
Mm. I will come to that part. I will come to that part because
And
when we okay, go ahead.
then we should also remember and then sign and date your section on the I-20 form
Yes.
as an applicant for the interview.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the
Okay.
finances, there is another side we didn't touch on. So to make our viewers or listeners aware that
Okay.
while we are saying there can be a deficit or a balance, you can also have surplus.
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
Mm. Oh, okay. Good. Thank you for clarifying that. We really appreciate. That's important.
One more point so that I don't forget it. That was prior to the interview date.
Mm-hmm.
Now, along the line, my first I-20, which I used to book my appointment, I later on had another school, and the condition for that school, when I weigh options, was better than the first admission. But I had already booked appointment with the first university details.
Mm-hmm.
And on the appointment portal, I was not able to change the service fee details and then the school document because the first university service fee ID is different from the second university. Like every university, whether you apply to 5 universities and then you had admissions, your service ID will be different
Different.
across the 5 universities.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
with this, I had to call the embassy online,
Mm-hmm.
and then they gave me a way out to use their support service system to update my information, and then they took over. However, it didn't reflect on my appointment schedule,
Mm-hmm.
which means I was safe to inform them than to keep the second university details and report on the day of interview that I am now submitting a new I-20 details.
I hope our listeners are taking notes, so because this is key. You guys are giving some key insight that you will not necessarily find it anywhere unless you really have this experience. And
Experience with that.
for me, I can relate with all the points you are making because I have been there before, and now whatever you are saying makes sense. Why some people don't make it beyond a certain stage. But this is really great information. So thank you very much. Our next question is: Would you advise an international student leveraging loan sponsorship to disclose that in the DS 160 form or at any point in the interview?
So,
So the question is that if you are an international student and you are going to use loan for your studies, is it ideal to disclose it in your DS 160 form or at any point in your interview in your visa interview?
well,
Um,
okay.
no, go ahead. I will
Well,
continue.
there are two forms. Which type of loan are you talking about? Is it the US type of loan like Npower or Discover or Ascent? Are these type of the loans you are talking about, or Ghana loan? When you took a loan in Ghana, then
Your name.
you put it in your bank account. So I pick a loan, then you go and submit it, put it in your bank account so that it becomes your personal one.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, how you don't need to, you are not going to explain because when you take a loan, your bank is not going to tell the embassy that this
Yeah.
person, yeah. So you
Okay.
just take the loan and put it in your account. But if okay, you are asking something.
No, but I mean that even I think the DS 120, I'm not too sure about this information being necessary there or even the interview. But where it's necessary is that your university upon admission would require some information from you. They will send you several forms you need to fill, and they will use that to prepare the I-20. And you could see from the I-20 that there was a financial aspect. So on that, in on that form that you need to fill for your university to prepare the I-20, there is a section where you will give information about your source of funding, and that is where you can use others, personal funds,
Yes.
family funds, or university sponsorship also.
Yes. I think
And
that.
so that is where you have to declare. And like Eben said, unless you are probably thinking about loan in the US or something. In Ghana, if you take loan, it's in your name, so you just use personal funds. And sometimes also, um, if it's a relative, even if it's a loan from people you know within your circle, it still goes into your account. So that's not something probably a required declaration but when you are filling that form for the I-20 preparation, every detail about your funding should be provided there. There is a
To
question here.
add up to
Okay, please.
Eben's submission,
Mm-hmm.
what is trying to put it across with the loan system is there are recognized institutions that grant student loan
Mm-hmm.
for international studies. So that was what he was citing, like the Empower. It is
Okay.
recognized by the embassy, it's recognized by the universities. So
Mm-hmm.
when you submit their details to the university, then they will base on it as a bank statement or as your means of funding. Then they
Yeah.
will issue
Yeah.
you with the I-20.
Yeah.
Then even with the regular funding that you get, let's say in my case that I am being fully funded, my department will give me a letter to the funding effect.
Mm-hmm.
Then I emailed it to the international organization or the international agency in the university for them to base on it and then issue me my I-20. That
Yes.
this is my source of funding.
Yes. Yes. And thank you very much, because I like how you said it. And trust me, before Empower would offer you an international student loan, it means they have done effective and enough assessment to know that you have the potential to pay back and stuff. And so don't be afraid that if you acquire such a loan, and of course if that is your only possibility to go and study there, and you are going to show it as a proof of funds, then you better declare it. There is no need hiding anything.
The funny thing is that they even Empower not do not grant funding to or not all programs do they fund.
Yeah, exactly.
They
Exactly.
look at the very powerful programs and
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, thank you. Let's look at the other question here from Joseph. So Awutunde Victor, if you have any further information question, you can put it there and we can clarify. Please, do you request the expedited appointment in your D160 portal, or is a mail you send? So I think that our listeners mentioned two possibilities. Eben mentioned that you can, and even Osmond also mentioned that you can send an email. But on the portal where you book the appointment, after you have booked the appointment, you will see that function there. It's on the portal. There are the DS 160 form is different from the visa booking appointment site. So these are
Yes.
two different sites. So you will find it at the visa booking appointment site. Once you have booked an appointment, that that column will appear. If you have not booked appointment, I've not seen it appeared when you have not already booked appointment.
No,
Yeah.
it will not. It will not. It will not appear. Now,
Okay.
another thing that the listeners can also take note is the current portal. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the current portal has it that you need to enter your information during the application session. They will generate a code for you. That is what you will use to go and pay your visa appointment fee.
Oh,
Unlike
okay.
previously, where you go and pay and get your receipt and then
And
you
then put
enter
the
your
receipt
receipt
number.
information, now you have to apply during the application system. You will get a code. That's the code you will use, and there's a date on it. I think about 2 or 3 days. If you don't go and pay it, that this thing will expire. Therefore, it means you really need to apply for that code to be generated for you. You use that code to go and apply, pay for your visa fee.
All right. Thank you. The next question is, when your request, when your expedited request had been rejected, what do you do?
Oh, it happens to people a lot. It's rejected. You assess your information, maybe based on how you wrote your stuff, your information or your this thing were not strong enough, very convincing. You may have had a genuine case, but what are your evidence? Osmond made us aware. He provided the document that you need to send or submit to support your case. For instance, your admission letter, your I-20, and I also made mention of a letter of support. These are the three main things that you need to provide, as well as in some cases even your service fee receipt. But the three most essential one that you can't do away with are these three.
Okay.
If you have a letter of support or your I-20 and your admission letter, you need to send this. But if you are rejected, can and assess yourself and resend. There's no cap that you have sent, you have been rejected, so you can't send the message again. You can still again reply, and maybe I think some people even sent a message on their third occasion that they were granted. So yes, it happens often, but you need to assess your way of structuring your message and your supporting document that you need to submit into the portal or in the system or backing your case.
All right. Osmond, with this particular one, do you have something more to add? Otherwise, I will go to the next question.
It's okay.
All right.
With
So
submission.
the next question is, please, do you count your national service as part of your employment history? And my answer is yes, you count it. And please, I see this mistake run through all people that many people that I have had opportunity to evaluate or review their CVs. You have a column, you write national service. Outside Ghana, nobody knows what national service is. So what I'm always encouraging people to do is state your position, whatever you did. So if you were a teaching and research assistant, you state teaching and research assistant, you put the name of the university or the institution where you did your, and the period,
Exactly.
right? And that is counted because if you write national service and you don't even tell the position that you held, and you think the national service is it's a job position, it doesn't make sense. So please take note of that. But yes, it counts as a employment history, so
Yeah.
take note
I
of
think
that.
these are basic things that are essential. It runs through a lot on most of the CVs, resumes that people send for review. Because, for instance, when you are teaching at the basic school here back in Ghana, their basic schools are what they call elementary. So on your resume, you need to try converting their system that, oh, I was teaching grade 3 or a teacher at the elementary school. So you should be able to state. And JHS there, it is high school here. Okay. So you need to really see how
To put the stuff
the,
together.
the context works. Yeah, so SHS and they all have it, but know which context you are dealing with so that you'll be able to meet them halfway for them to understand the information you are saying. Because a lot of things contextually, our system and our culture and education system, how we name our staff is not how they also structure their system here. So you should be able to go to website and ask people about things before you be able to structure these things well.
Thank you. And the truth is that you have to make them understand you. You don't assume that they have to because you need something there. So you have to learn and adjust yourself to meet the demands of the condition and situation over there. So um the person clarified. So he was talking about empower, and he has his also reservation that the US it's like an automatic disqualification because uh, if the embassy gets to know that one is applying for loan to fund the education. I have no experience, so I can't speak categorically to that. I don't know if you know people who have had experience, and like I said, the empower does not even give it anyhow. So the way I know people come to me ask and stuff, the way before empower you get empower um loan, you have proved beyond every reasonable doubt that you will be able to refund it, and they had authenticated it. So I don't even think it's a discussion we should have. You should first try to see. You should
I think
first.
yeah, there was this. I mean, coming back to the issue that we were talking about, in somebody's resume, you were teaching at JHS, and instead of maybe stating at middle school, in
Mhm,
it is it is called middle school here. Back
mhm,
in Ghana, is JHS. Here is middle school. He was coming to offer a program in education, elementary and high school education, but he was like, he wanted Empower. And I'm like, no, Empower
no.
does not. But he was so stern on like applying. All that he has heard was Empower, Empower.
Empower.
So I gave him the Empower website to start the application. If he encountered any challenge, he should let me know. Then later on, he came to realize that no, they
Not
don't even,
qualified.
not only programs, even some schools, Empower do not give fund
Exactly.
or offer
Exactly.
their fund to some schools. Whether you are doing which program in that school, they do not, because they have list of universities that they have, and if the university you are applying is not on their side, they have a special I think option for you that you need to submit. Whether your school is not in their options, then let them know. So they will assess for you to know that okay, I'm doing this program in this school, and they assess to see if they will grant you the offer. But on a more serious end, don't let Empower should maybe probably be your last resort. I should be frank. Empower, because they're taking loans in the United States and the taxes, and I don't know when you'll be able to finish paying. But I mean, these are choices. I am not I'm not a repository of none. Yeah.
Yeah, hello, Sally. There are a lot of requirements to meet for the Empower. She's asking who qualifies for Empower loan. There are a lot of requirements to meet, but if you are listening to all these people here, I feel like, and for the experience that I have gathered with people who try to use Empower, none of them from Ghana has been successful. And let me tell you probably why I think so. When you are applying, they are asking for your they are applying they are asking for your annual income, right? And in Ghana cedis, if you convert to dollars, it's something. And it in any case, if any agency is going to give you a loan, they would assess your the possibility of you to pay the loan back. And trust me, you do not even have to finish you do not have to finish the studies before you start paying. You start paying even your interest on the loan first and all that. And I think that 3 months after, you have to start paying. And at the time you are applying, you don't have any employment contract in the United States to guarantee that, because most of the universities, you are required to be there before you can even apply for on-campus jobs. And then when even if you are working in Ghana and you are leveraging your income in Ghana to pay, if you convert your monthly income to dollars, your 2 monthly income will not even be able to pay uh, um, a month's interest on a Empower loan. So it's quite
Can I come in?
difficult. Yes, please.
Okay. I just want to brush over so that we don't deviate from our main discussion. But this is
Yeah.
the area of funding. I am a witness to 4 Ghanaian students during our orientation when we started the program, the graduate school orientation they organized for us. And I had to interact with them. And truly, they were supported by Empower Loan.
Wow.
However, I didn't have opportunity to examine
Go
the
into
details
details.
because there are situations, some will come and then pick up the loan whilst in the US. Others will also apply for the loan and they use it for the interview. But to cut it short, the US system, even on full funding, it is not easy with finance, like financing your living expenses. We are on break for 6 whole weeks. I am in the house 24 hours, not doing any financial productive work. But we have not veered towards that angle. So this is where I just want us to brush over.
All right, thank you. So maybe there will be time, or they can read more about the
Maybe
funding in terms of another
life
thing.
in
I
the US,
agree.
an
I
international student who can host a program like that, fine.
I can agree to that. I agree with you guys. So yeah. So let's get back to our main. There is a question here, a follow-up question from your statement. What do you mean by K-12 class? Someone mentioned K-12. I don't think we did mention K-12. Theophilus, maybe you missed something, but come again. All right. So Eben, why do you think you failed in the first attempt of your application?
I think
So
that
the assessment and revision of previous incidents.
yes, I think that these are this mostly happen to the naives and the novice, because when as a first timer there are a lot of information you don't have, and it happened to me. Mine was just like I always say, I had never been desperate about this movement. I only acted normal to it, just the normal pace. I was acting, but I was living life to take its due course, whilst at the same time making my effort. So I gathered every information and I went. Then after the interview, when I was denied, I came to assess the whole thing, and I realized that all was because of how I was responding to questions.
Okay.
So that's why there are a lot of ways of granting the interview. I had everything. Now let's go. I remember vividly my 3 questions. All right. So you have this. Who is sponsoring your funding, your trip? Remember, the sponsor of your trip is different from the sponsor of your education. So when you are asked about who is sponsoring your trip, they are asking about your travel, not your whole education journey. Because if they want about your education, they may ask you in a full details who is sponsoring you. There are different ways. It depends on what um, your I-20 is, or the funding situation on your I-20. So they are basing on your I-20 information to ask you. Therefore, in my case, when I say that I had full funding, they ask of who is sponsoring my trip. They are asking of my journey.
Because the full funding doesn't cover your trip, your air tickets and stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
So, for instance, I said my uncle. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
But in interview situation, later did I realize that no, they don't only want your uncle, but they also want you to brief them on who your uncle is. Maybe my uncle is Professor Enoch something something or Enoch Boatin. He is a professor of biology or biotechnology at the University of Cape Coast. He has established a consortium who
Okay.
consult with maybe United Nations organization on maybe food technology, or who has a consortium or who has established a consortium that gives consultation or you don't not necessarily a consortium, but if he's a consultant to whatever organizations on what
At
my
least something to bring out his source of income, or what is
exactly
his
period that
his
he has
position.
the capacity to sponsor me.
Okay.
Maybe if your dad, my dad is this, he has about 1,000 acres of cocoa farm, and he maybe produces about 3,000 bags of cocoa yearly, and which gives an income of maybe 10,000 US dollars per annum or per year.
Mm.
So you are giving them an idea that your dad is in full capacity, or if it is your uncle or someone else who is sponsoring you, the person has that full capacity to sponsor you without themselves being incapacitated. Now, another thing too is that you should know that they are psychologists, they are not necessarily psychologist specialists, but they have been schooled on the work that they are coming to do. So psychologically and culturally, they have come to stay in Ghana for some time. So they know our cultural system. They know that if your uncle is sponsoring you, your uncle has about 6 children, your uncle is not foolish enough to give you all his money, whilst to the neglect of his own family and himself. Therefore, I mean, rationally, you should be able to know that you then don't quote any amount unnecessarily, that as if you can't account for. They are rational beings. That's why you should be able to let them know the capacity of who your sponsor is to give you that funding, because they may ask you, who is your, that may be Professor Enoch. He doesn't relate to you in terms of blood family line. But why do you think that Professor Enoch Boateng will go to the extent of giving you about 40,000 US dollars to sponsor your education? You should be in the position to explain that I have lived with Professor Enoch since my infancy. He has taken good care of me throughout my university education, and promising that if I was able to obtain maybe first class or second class upper, he will continue to sponsor me for my further education. Therefore, when I got this opportunity, I also kept the promise, and per the services I have rendered him, I've been able to gotten his heart to sponsor me to this extent. So you should be able to give this account to let them know that your uncle is not sorry to say that stupid enough to give you all his money, whether whichever amount they are dashing you. They know our cultural system, that it is hard to come by money. And so
Wow.
nobody will be able to give you money anyhow. Therefore, don't just go and say that my daddy is sponsoring me, though they know that your daddy gave birth to you, but they still want to know who your dad or your mom or your brother is. Maybe your brother is married or has a family. How about your family, your brother's family? So you should be able to account for all this in a certain brief manner. You are not going to talk plenty, but like the way you saw how I was narrating the situation, for them to know that my uncle, my brother, or whoever my sponsor is, even though now in the case when I mentioned Professor Enoch Boateng, I did not say Professor Enoch Boateng is my family line, but he has been, or he has sponsored me since my university life. And this is the promise that he gave me, or he knew that my performance and how my academic line has been, he sees me to have that potential to be a great person in this career line. That's why he has me, or he wishes to sponsor me. So this is the thing that I didn't have before in
Okay.
2020.
Okay.
I was just giving these short, straight answers. What do you do now? They asked me, what do you do? So I've talked about who sponsor you, and I said my uncle. That's all. And he was looking at me, meaning that he was
Nothing
expecting me to say
to
something
say
further.
more.
Yes. And he also asked me, what was the next question? What do I do? At that time, I was teaching at Aguna SD Senior High School. So I said I'm a teacher.
So even if you're a teacher and you're earning what, and at your age, and sometimes also at your age, why do you even expect your uncle to sponsor your trip when the when the when the
Exactly.
cost of ticket is
Exactly.
less than maybe 10,000 Ghana cedis and stuff. But like
Oh,
you said, it all boils down to understanding the question they are asking and
exactly.
how to
That's the
answer them.
point. So you are at a certain level where they look at maybe what your standard in life as at the time you are coming to do the interview. If you are in the capacity of a level where you should be able to have saved and you are not able to save, then you should be able to account for the person who is sponsoring you, why they are sponsoring you. If it is your job or your work, some people get sponsorship from their jobs, their work, their place of work. You should be able to explain why they are sponsoring you to go and do that program. Some people, they don't, the program they are going to do, the job or the work demand, their organization need an expert in the area, and they see you to be in that potential to be the expert that they want. So therefore, they are sponsoring you to go and do that program to come back and then fill that void. That come back to Osmond's point that you need to be able to establish home ties that when you go, you come back. Now, in situation whereby someone is sponsoring you, like your uncle or whoever is sponsoring you, you should be able to state that maybe or you are going to study to come back and maybe be the CEO or be the whatever of your dad's company, which deals with maybe agrochemicals in what. So you are into agri business. You think that this side of agri business that you are going to do. So your dad is giving you this sponsorship to come and help him establish this kind of company or organization or your so it should be you should be in that capacity to build a strong point to let them know that you know what you are about. You are telling them that you are on top of the game. So if not that, then you may have full sponsorship. But this line of my conversation tells you why I was denied. Not a rocket science, but when I came to the realization that this were what I was lacking, and I was able to connect to some folks and dealt with how the visa interviews are conducted. That was where I was able to build all these skills to let them know that maybe. Then I told them I am a teacher. Now now the point too is that in my second interview they asked me what do I do. I'm a teacher of this, and I do this as part of my teaching. I do this, that, and I also counsel students. I also expect students project off-campus project, and as such, I'm able to give students the needed feedback to be able. So these are
Which
the
will align with your program of study that you are going to for.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Great.
if you are unable to be able to explain who you are, don't just go and give the short answer, but brief them on the things that they are asking you. That's basically how the interviews go. Sometimes, whether you fit it, they will give you, if other means, you may even be able to speak audibly, but on the other part of your document, do not show what you are talking about. These are some of also the things that come about. So with me, my straight answer and the straight answers, the shortness of my straight answer, I think was the denial point. And when I came back, I killed it or I nailed it in the second attempt. Just my first question, and they said, okay, I give you this stamp on it, and there I go.
Okay. Let me go to Osmond. So, what has been the experience? And yeah.
On my part, I was also carrying a heavy load within. That was 2013. It was a visitor's visa, and I got denied.
Okay.
Inexperience, as Eben was saying. So they asked 3 questions, and then they gave you the white sheet, the
Ah.
214B. However, 2014, that was 11 years. 2024, that was 11 years difference
After. Mm-hmm.
year after. But I needed to respond to that in my DS 160 that have been denied before.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another angle. You interact with friends who have gone through, they will say, oh, the history 13, 11 years is an
It's
old
gone.
history, so
It's gone.
forget about that. But
Mm-hmm.
to the honesty, that is the reality.
Mm.
So I captured that in my DS 160 that I've been denied 214B. And that means the reason for the denial is that I know someone in the US because I was going to visit, but that person was not
Close relative.
a close relative, so to say. So I stated it in my application, the DS-160. Then I also had enough time from my appointment date to the interview date. So in terms of what Eben was saying, I was also listening to other mock interviews, but I didn't put myself on a mock interview. I was interested in listening to others sharing their experience. And then I got a coaching from other friends, and then my own student I taught back
Yeah,
at
you mentioned him.
STS.
You
Yes,
mentioned him last time.
yes, to also coach me. Then on YouTube, there is this agency, they call them Agro, AJRO. They are ex-visa officers. So they also form consultancy services. If you think you need their services, they will coach you. But if you don't need, I just listen to some of their interviews, like how they will coach you. But those ones are not into detail. So the idea is that if you have been denied before, you have a hurdle to cross on the day of interview. So your first question, you should be strategic to make them aware that mistake or that hurdle you have overcome before you put yourself into the actual interview. And then another advice is that in the interview section, you should take the interview an active participant, be an active participant, than just responding to their questions as if the VOs are rather active and you are a passive participant in the interview section. Then one last thing which was quite okay to rehearse for my cases, they also made mention of 3 key things they look out for during the interview session. One is, are you a credible or a genuine student that you are going to the US for school sake? Because others use it as pathway to come to the US and forfeit that mission. So you need to prove genuinely that you are coming for school. Then the second one is
we call it intending immigrant.
yes. Then the second one is your finances. You need to be able to prove that you are financially sound to come and then school. Then the third one is the home ties. When you are done with your schooling, you are coming back home. So all my rehearsal, it was in connection with these 3 areas. And the day was also a good day for a good question that I was able to answer appropriately and then be granted the visa. So though we are not going into detail about the nature of the questions, they seem to be the same. Just that you need to show maturity and purpose, that you understand the question they are asking. So I was asked, what are you going to do in the US? My answer straight away should be, I am going to school.
And they know that already. So why are they even asking
it
that?
From your I-20, and your appointment is that you are an F1 student. So this question gave me opportunity to address all the 3 issues I raised earlier. I am going to this university to pursue a fully funded PhD in mathematics education, and I'll be working with Professor so and so lab to also mentor me in the area of STEM education. When I am done, I'll come back home and reunite with my wife and kids, and then get back to my workplace and then set up a lab that will promote the teaching and learning of mathematics using technology. So within 45 seconds, I had addressed these 3 key issues.
Well done.
And then the last question I was asked is, I can see you are a teacher. How can he see that? From my DS-160, my employment history demonstrate that at the time I am a full teacher. So that also gave me the point to address my responsibility as a college tutor.
As Eben said it. Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
So you see, right here in Osmond's case, he stated that he can see, but with mine, they pretend as if they've not seen. Then they
Mhm.
ask me, "What do you do?"
Mhm.
Meanwhile, in my DS-160, it is in there. So you see, somehow they go about asking their questions. It's the same thing they are asking you, but different
But
means.
different ways. And
Yes,
maybe they're even testing your loyalty and your honesty.
exactly.
So
That's
you
great.
go through the whole session, they will never ask you when you are done with your program, will you come back to Ghana? Don't expect such
Exactly.
a You need to be
Exactly.
strategic and then make
Exactly.
it known to them. Or
It
if they don't ask you, is your program fully funded? You should be in the known.
robot.
So
Mhm.
some questions are opening ways, they don't tie you to a particular answer. For example, if you are asked, why are you here? Why are you going to the US? What is your purpose of traveling to the US? You should be able to address those three key issues I
Exactly.
said.
These are open doors for you to kill to nail all of
Yes.
them at once.
Uh-huh.
Some
So
of the
that you
questions
don't
are
open
so
yourself
specific
for
that
further questions.
yes, some
Mhm.
of the
That,
questions are so specific that it doesn't open another door. For
mhm.
Mhm.
instance, what do you do? Or what do you do now? You are telling about your history, your employment history, they are asking about you, or what if you are into anything, they are asking you. So this does not really go and address you are going to the US. I don't know
Mhm.
if it makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. So what do you do? It's not like I'm teaching and I'm going to the It doesn't answer question why you are going to the
Yes,
US. So,
exactly.
but for example, some of the points he raised, they
He
were
raised
quite fitting
exactly.
to
Perfect.
to
Yes.
to do that. All right. So now I have some understanding because as we were talking about the proof of funds and stuff and how to even respond to them, I have someone whose cousin was providing the proof, the bank statement. This is a cousin who works in Uganda for, I think, one of the telecommunications internationally, and he has a dollar account at Zenith Bank, and consistently how much he's earning, like the dollar account is showing with the, it's not like, but some people do not even make it past the questioning stage in order for them to show the document.
Document.
So
They
so
will
when
show.
you were mentioning the documents, I was about to ask, you are mentioning all this, but sometimes when you go, you don't make it past the stage where you would even have the opportunity to provide, to show that this is the bank statement, this is that. Why, like, can you share something on that aspect with us? Why do you think they don't make it past? Because in my case, I was going for visitors visa, I was using conference, right? And honestly, the conference had expired. The conference date that I used to apply had expired. The conference was supposed to be in May, and I had interview appointment in September. I even told the woman that the conference the first conference I has expired and stuff. She said, "Don't worry, say anything, give it to me." And even my visa had 1 month to expire. Sorry, my passport was 1 month to expire. So he gave me option either I will go and renew. Uh, I will finish the renewal of my passport, and then I will bring it, or they can put it in the one which is about to expire. But anytime I have to travel, then I have to travel with both
Two.
the two exactly. And it looked like the requirement was not even too difficult for me to prove by documents, but how I interacted, what I was doing, and when I mentioned that I am into molecular parasitology, PhD, doing research and stuff, I think and she has checked how long I have lived here, whether I have even tried to go to USA and stuff. She just told me, go and renew your passport and then bring it, send it to us when it's ready. And when it was ready, I sent and they gave me. So um my question again, back to what I was asking. How, what is it that doesn't make people transition from the questioning stage to even the document verification stage when it comes to students visa application? Because I know people who went and they were questioned and they just asked them to take the white paper, the rejection, without even showing them who is providing the
Yeah,
response and stuff.
I think that there are a number of factors, a plethora of them, which maybe we may not even exhaust them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the instance I was talking about is psychological. When you come there and stand before them, they are looking at your demeanor, your way of talking. Are you interactive enough? Are you looking at them in the face? Because in the cultural system, the cultural difference is that when you are looking in their face, that is a respect and honesty.
Mm-hmm.
That's the interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
Because but back there in our cultural setting, when an
It's not.
adult is looking at
You can
you,
look at them.
exactly. These are the difference that we should know. But they expect us to be in that their cultural setting. Look at my face and tell me the truth. They believe that if someone is not able to look at your face and talk to you, then they are lying. Simple. This is cultural about them. And so for them, a face looking conversation or interaction is a way of paying.
Even eye contact, yeah.
Yes, eye contact is a great interactive, respect and honesty. Be honest and tell me. That's one. When you are talking and your expression does not really suit well, your way of speaking the English is one thing. So you are going to study in a
English country.
English speaking country, by your grammar, the numerous errors, they don't expect you to speak like them, but you speak
Level.
your Ghanaian English in a way that they will understand. Because communication, language is about communication. And if you are unable to communicate, pass the needed information to the person, you are not a good communicator.
Mm-hmm.
That is simple. Therefore, you should be able to interact with them well. Another thing that people are, I think, let them that struck them is fear. Now, for me, what I have over the years built is about how I interact with people during interviews. First of all, I look at my interviewers as my friends
Audience.
who are older than me. So when I'm interacting with my friend who is older than me, I am interacting freely, but I have the utmost respect for them, how I interact. I should be able to speak well and naturally.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't speak as if you have rehearsed that you are coming to tell them, okay, what are you going to do? I am going to the United States to do my, and when I go there, I will be able, like, you see that kind of thing. It should
Yes.
be in a normal communication form so that they will enjoy your conversation. When you are speaking, you see that they are nodding their head. Somebody will say they know that and know that and know that. Then that's how you see that whatever you are speaking, because some of them, it gets to a point that your program that you are going to read is what their background is in. So
Mm-hmm.
they may,
They will
oh, wow,
interact with you there.
biotech. Which aspect of biotech are you into? Or if it's mathematics, oh, I love calculus doing my undergrad. Do you really love calculus? Well, what's your specialization? So sometimes the
Conversation.
general things that they will ask everyone, yours may be extended for someone to branch to ask you which area are you going to specialize. And they may even go to the extent of asking you specific questions in the program. Okay, so what is osmosis? That's it, they are telling you they know what you are going to do.
Mm.
If you are going to read bio, whatever, then they ask you something, some of these small things, and you are unable to tell them. You are telling them certain signal that what you are going to do, you are not on top of the
Even
game,
aware.
and that's another point. Another point too is that the falsification of program, in fact, recently has become an issue. I'm sorry,
For,
falsification of documents.
Documents.
falsification of document.
Yes.
Okay.
People are falsifying their bank statements. especially bank statement is the major issue. People are falsifying their bank statement, that the bank statement maybe is from this, but now they have also started verifying from the banks themselves. So we should be very cautious and careful about the document we are presenting. If it's from you may say it's from your uncle, you may go and craft a certain bank statement to them. No. Why falsify? Just be honest. Let them know what you have rather than falsifying. Because when you go and falsify document, then you are endangering yourself of being cut off for like being banned for like 10 years or even forever because of your dishonesty. So me, I do not, I will advise each and every potential applicant that make sure that you are presenting genuine document. It doesn't matter who, you see, some people think that the document should come from our uncle, our close relatives somewhere, but that is not the case. Why is there even some Empower give us the funding? Is that from your uncle?
No.
Or but people with funding, I know a nurse member who just finished graduating last year in computer science. Now he did cybersecurity in Chicago. He's
Yeah.
currently in Chicago. You know the guy. He used Empower. He took Empower Finance. But you see, for him, he had a background where most of his relatives, his close associates are outside. And so he used some of those sources, attaching them to that to support his evidence. So
Okay.
things come together. They are like a lot of them that come together to encapsulate your denial. Aside your demeanor, your psyche, your way of talking, or your way of communication, you are unable to really tell what you are going to do. Then another thing too is like the specific school. When you are asked about who is your point of contact, you don't know. So you're on your I-20, read on your I-20 the very information on your I-20. Okay, when is your school start date? So the question is not, there are some generic questions they will ask you, almost everyone gets, but yours may be slightly different. For instance, they ask you, okay, so where will you stay when you go to the United States? Simple. And you are there, you cannot talk. Like, you see, some of these things, they come together to make your denial a denial. We should be conscious of the document we are presenting because the document talk about us and they make us. Aside you going to present yourself physically, your document speak about, let me say, about 70% of your whole application, because everything come together to make your document, and they are coming to ask you based on the document you have provided. They don't ask you anything outside of the things you are coming to do. But based on what you have brought is what we are using to ask you. Now, justify your inclusion, you are not being able to justify, then it's you who have done your, like in my case, I do not blame anyone. I blame myself of how novice or naive I was to in answering those questions. But
What
later on, when I was able, I learned them, I nailed them later on. Yeah.
what you said reminded me of one course I took here. So here we have the written version and then the oral version session. And with this professor, I have managed to score 60-60 in the written. Then I went for the oral, and he was asking me some practical questions and stuff, and I don't know what was happening to me. He failed me. I had to take the whole thing again.
Wow.
Yes, yeah, I had to take the whole stuff again, irrespective of how well I scored in the written. So I agree.
Exactly.
Sometimes the document might speak, but if we cannot justify that with our presence and the interview, it would go against us.
There's another
Um.
point that I wanted to add to Osmond's question, issue about when you are going for a second interview. Me,
Okay.
like this, in my second application, I didn't get that open question that Osmond got.
Oh,
But
okay.
for instance, when you are asked, there are some people who have also encountered this simple question: what changed?
Okay.
Yes.
You see that thing? What changed? It may be a change of school, a change of funding, or a change of document,
Program.
a change of program. You should be able to state well and explain in brief why that change came,
Mm,
so that you will be able to sound convincing. That's basically how it is. You should be able to notify the change and convey the message well to them. They are not spirit, they are human beings. When you are talking about something sensible and rational,
They
you and
want the
I,
fun.
yes, there are no special technicalities. It's about the common knowledge, but how you convey them. Like Osmond said, that some of the questions are general to everyone, but the approach to
To answering.
your response approach depends determines where you go. Thank you.
All right. Before I ask Osborne to speak, I think somebody asked a question that almost skipped me. She was asking if one has Josephine Asari. You don't have to pay service fee before your I-20. The service number would be provided, but you have to pay the service fee prior to your interview. I don't know exactly how close it should be, but if any of you have an idea how close, what is the time duration to pay your service, and then before the interview, you can share with us. But yeah, Osmond, now Eben has enlightened us with his experience. Can you also bless us with why you think these things do happen?
In terms of the documentation, these were also, as I said, I had enough time to listen to YouTube, the ex-Visa officers. So what they share was also credible, that in the US Visa approach, it does not come and justify or defend your documents. So within 2-3 minutes, even 3 minutes will be when possibly your funding situation, you need to sound convincing. So they are not interested in documentation too much to stress you or say to go into detail, and then for the session to take a longer time, because they have
Mm.
pile of interviews to be done
Do wait.
within the shortest possible time in a day.
True.
And that is their approach. It is not like other countries where don't go in person but produce your document for your document to speak for itself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Another side too is the experience in the room needs extra bravery and confidence. Because when you are in the queue, you get to know someone who has been denied. You see it naturally because you are in the same queue like a banking, you go into a bank teller to receive money. And that first question that I was asked, what are you going to do in the US? It seems in my queue on the day I was the third person. All the six of us were asked the same first question. That was the line of the view. He will ask that same first question before he changed it due to how you approach the question or what he has interest in. But
Okay.
it demands that you should be very confident, because when you see someone, the denier is that they will issue you with your passport and then the white sheet. So you easily see your friend has been denied. But if you are approved, they will keep your passport.
Okay. So I have an answer to the service question here from Eben. He says that you have at least 3 business days. You have to pay your service fee at least 3 business days prior to your visa appointment date. Thank you very much, Eben, for this insightful one. Yes, Osmond, go back. There is a question which really I just want to touch on because it's not part of what we're doing, but since the person is listening and has asked, I would want to. For someone who has a BSc and also has a master's degree, do I have to do World Education Service evaluation for both results, please? Um, I know that is not what we're talking about here, but yes, if the university you are applying to requires you to do the credentials evaluation, you have to do for any or every academic credentials you listed in your application. For example, if I use myself as an example, I have bachelor's, I have master's, I have PhD. If I'm applying for any program in the US and maybe let's say another master's in a different field which is related, and I used all these documents, or I use all these credentials in my application form, I will need to do credential evaluations for all, and that is a lot of money. But you can look for universities that do not require this credential evaluation. There are a lot of them also available. So Solomon Corride, if you are still around, that is for you. All right. So back to Eben and Osmond. We are trying to wind up because we've
Yeah.
spent quite almost 2 hours. Any final words that probably we have not catch something and we want to bring it out or highlight? I feel like this session has been quite interesting, insightful, because I'm beginning to understand why some people's visa were rejected and all this stuff. But yeah, before we wind up, um any point you will want to stress for our listeners to take note of, anything missing and
Yes. There is one thing that I think we maybe we left out about how you arrange yourself for the visa preparation, the actual day, the D day. Most people, because of how they organize themselves, sometimes it also add to your the pressure at in the room because you did not arrange your document well. So when you are asked of maybe your admission letter, your service fee or your I-20, you are now going to find out, oh, where is, you see, they will be there and be looking at you. But the lateness and even your way of finding your document tells them you guys, you are not organized.
Mhm.
First, mostly, the most important, the first three documents that should be in front, that you should be able to pull out first: admission letter, I-20, and your service. Because mostly they ask of your I-20 and your passport. These are the first two documents. Therefore, your I-20 passport admission letter and your and the other thing too is your funding shouldn't be far away in the document. You see, I enumerated a number of documents, but the essential ones that are asked first are the first three: I-20, admission, passport. So you can even put your I-20 in your passport. Mostly they ask them together. Can you give me your passport or your passport and I-20? Your passport or your passport and I-20. These are the two things they ask first. Therefore, you should make sure that in your file, the plain file, these two documents are on the topmost. You'll be so that you'll be able to pull them as fast as possible. That is how it should go. Another point people do not also fail or being denied mounting unnecessary pressure to themselves is about them not focusing. When you are in the room, you should focus on yourself, meditate on the questions, how you are going to answer your questions. Some people looking at people moving here and there, you get distracted. If you are like me, you get confused. Especially when someone is denied, you hear it, as Osmond said, you see it, so you get frightened.
Mm.
Therefore, me, when I was in the room, I was just looking somewhere and pretending as if I'm not in the room. When you will be pushing, okay, is this person's turn? Is this person's turn? Is this person's turn? You get to the point where everyone, you see that like the banking hall, people are asking, are responding, so you get confused and distracted. Be focused on yourself, meditating on what you are going to do, how you are going to respond. Some people also believe in grace. Yes, I believe grace work, but I do not believe that grace work without works. If you do not prepare well, me in my belief that failure to prepare, let me put hold on that there. But me, I insist on the fact that prepare and pray for God to add His grace to you. If you prepare well, you are denied. It doesn't mean that's the end of the world. You go back, like myself, I went to read and then sat down and then prepared and came back. Some people are too desperate. Desperacy also sometimes move to disappointment. Someone is like, if I don't go to America, nothing else. Be doing something. Whilst you are in Ghana, make sure that your primacy is Ghana. Therefore, live your life as someone who is in Ghana, but prepare as if you want to stay or travel. That is how it's worked. Desperation, desperation. So you are moving here and there, you are borrowing unnecessary to do things. People
asking
are
people
in debt.
asking people to do things for you when
For
they know
you.
that it's not even possible that you go
Exactly.
to, but they will take your money
Exactly.
and all those stuff.
And people are accusing friends here and there. I asked this my friend to do this for me, and they didn't do. They don't know how things work. So please let us try to live within the means where we are. Everyone try to build. We are in Ghana, therefore we live like wherever we are, but prepare as if you are seriously and want to move up the ladder. That is how
Okay.
I see it. So I think that in all it shall be well. We all go well and do everything that is possible within our means. And if not, until you find it, try again. Go and come back, try again. I think that works. And also extend your networks. Utilize your networks, friends and families who know how to do it. One mistake people do, that means when I encounter you, you ask me is like, you are coming to study, you want to come and study abroad.
Mm-hmm.
But you are interacting with someone who is working on a working visa, is not coming to study here. Then
Exactly.
when you ask them, they tell you the things that they do not know much idea about. Then you come and counter that with what the information I give you. In fact, sometimes it pisses people off. Somebody like me, when I tell you, okay, this is how it. Oh no, but this person said that when I do it this way, and I ask which school is he in. I think he's working in. Did he come to school? No, he went by there. I said, why are you doing that? When you are going to work, ask from people who are on the working visa permit, not those who are coming to who are on a study. Me like this, when you ask me a lot about work, I don't know much.
Mm-hmm.
I know about study route.
Mm-hmm.
So don't go and ask people about study issues who came with work permit and they are working. They are not into education. They don't know that much. They will ask the right question from the right people. That's how I think that, and I think everything will be well.
Thank you. Even though I was asking, do you get a feedback?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know
getting some
because
feedback.
because Danny joined, but now it's
Okay,
okay for me.
let me. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
All
I
right.
don't get it anymore.
All right, that's
All
fine.
right. Even though I was asking for a wind up, but now a question came up. There is a popular idea or saying that um they are also quite selective regarding the program of study. You know, they favor um certain study program over others in terms of issuing a visa. And before I I I I elicit your responses, I want to introduce Danny. Danny had been here with us before. We spoke about master's study opportunities in the USA about 3 weeks ago. So, and he's graduated. He's also helping quite a lot of people to guide them about their study application process and also visa application. And I have seen severally people writing to thank him that his guidance and the tips that he gave them worked and they secured their visa, um, and thanking him. So yeah, then welcome. And I think that allow me to start this question with him. He went to church and he was quite late for today, but yeah, he would give us his insight on this. And yeah, also tell us your experience with the visa application briefly, because Osmond and Eben has done a lot. Eben had talked about how he was denied and stuff and all that, but I also know you have similar experience. So um introduce yourself briefly, tell us your experience with the US student visa application, and also help us with the question about the favorite the favoring of certain study programs over the other, if actually it's the case, and in your experience. So Osmond and Eben, you should also be thinking, in your experience, the people you have encountered, what is the education, their program, what is the disparity among the study programs you have encountered, international people come to study, so we can make it a quick one. Yeah, Danny.
All right. Thank you for having me, and sorry for being late. So my name is Dan Legend. That's usually the brand name I go by. Uh, and I also run a study abroad content channel. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and most especially TikTok, because that's where the Gen Z are going right now. So that's where we are also putting out more content. All right. So yes, I came here on a student visa to pursue masters in applied economics, and right now I'm done and I'm working. I've entered the workforce now, so that's just about been about maybe 3 months approximately. Yes, and my experience with the visa interview, I'm going to talk about that, and I come to programs that can win you some sort of favor in quotes. So with the visa interview, first of all, make sure that you are filling your DS-160 form accurately. I realize in my months of experience, or maybe a year and a half of experience working with students, most people don't fill the form well. Either they will not get their sponsors information right, or they'll change their sponsor at the last minute, or some wrong information about the school is in the DS-160. That's one thing that I would say, that take your time and then fill it accurately. Make sure you are getting your employment history and everything right on point, so that you don't now come and say that, oh, last minute I have to change this. Oh, I realized I did one job here, and then no, no, no. Have everything planned out and apply appropriately. And then with regards to the courses, the selection of courses that you spoke about, I would say that if your program is a research program, you have higher chances of getting fully funded compared to courses that are not research based, because US is investing a lot into research. So usually the universities that are land grant universities will be granting tuition tuition waivers, okay, in terms of scholarship work, or research work to students that are coming. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that if your program is not research, you are not going to be fully funded, or you have lost all hope, because programs that are not research based can still win TA ships. You can still become a TA in a program that is not research based, right? But most of the time, we have research assistants that are given the scholarships.
Okay.
Regarding my interview experience, I'll say that you have to also be ready for questions that will throw you off. Now,
How many times did you have to go to the embassy?
so I went there 4 times, 3 rejections, and then fourth successful attempt.
Exactly.
So
So now, between the three rejections and then the fourth successful one, what changed? Can you share quickly? I know that since you are not here, you might repeat similar things that
similar,
did.
oh, okay,
Yeah, but just feel free when you are repeating. I will just let you know,
right.
and then you can summarize. What changed between your three unsuccessful application and the last one?
Okay, so I would say that it was my financial situation. Financials is very, very important to the visa officer. At the end of the day, can you
Okay.
afford to pay the school fees? Some people are going to school with $50,000 debt. Like, it will take you years to pay that off, and the visa
Mm,
officer is concerned, can you really pay it off? Are you going to be
mm,
using campus jobs, that $13 an hour to pay 50,000? You're only entitled to 20 hours. So I
mm,
would say that the major difference for me was the finances. The
mm,
other ones I wasn't fully funded, but the one that I
mm.
got, I was fully funded. I got a fully funded scholarship, so I feel like that put me at an advantage to get the visa approved.
You think there was no you didn't learn from filling the DS 160, answering interview questions from the previous, you felt like maybe the last one you did better the previous, um attempts based on your own personal reflection or introspection?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, I think that I answered better from my field experiences because I wasn't really like articulating myself properly and being more convincing to the visa officer. For
Mm,
example, they could ask you a question and then they are trying to find out if you have home ties. But
okay,
because I
yeah,
didn't know, I'll just say, oh, I'm going to do, let's say, for example, I'm going to do business admin at Stephen F. Austin State University. Okay. So how are you going to maybe what would you do with a degree? Then I'm like, oh, I plan on starting a business. Like I might not articulate myself properly,
okay,
right? And
okay,
it doesn't really show any strong home ties because if you plan on a business, that business can start in America. What shows that you're going back home to do it? You know?
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right, that's interesting. They mentioned quite a number of these. So apparently, with regarding the programs, I feel like I get your background and why you responded that way. Because, for example, I some people had the notion that if you are pursuing health related programs and stuff, it gives you a competitive advantage to gain a visa. But you linked the courses with funding, and probably you feel like if you once you get the funding, it will be easier for the visa. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. In many ways, yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Now it makes sense. So I'll go back to Osmond. What do you think about this uh, study program? Depending on the study program, it will show some people are likely to gain their to be successful with their visa, all things being equal. What do you think?
It has been a hearsay, but Danny has stressed on it well, which aligns with the three issues I raised. That is what I learned were three key issues. Are you a
Mm,
credible student? Are you having funding? Are you having home ties? So out of these three, if the finances becomes a hurdle, it means the other two will have a challenge. So I have colleagues whom were all teachers teaching mathematics, but within the time of their search for schools, they couldn't get better schools that will fund them for the mathematics master's program. So they switched to a different program and had funded, and their visa was approved. And if I weigh the two, if programs talks better, I am not saying one program outweighs the other, but that may be our thinking. Because these friends were mass education teachers teaching at the senior high school mathematics.
mm,
However, one also went the same three denials, and then it seems the fourth time that he also made it. However, he branched into the program Eben is doing, that is higher education and then student affairs.
okay,
That gave him funding.
okay,
And he is now here studying his master's program. So
okay,
if mass education or mathematics was to be a hot cake without better finances, then we would say US is interested in mathematics education. So without funding, they will even use his own statement, bank statement, or
to give
maybe a
him.
means of, and then approve his visa.
Okay, I get it. I get it. So basically, you feel like as long as there is the full funding part from the university, it means you are relevant to their system and it gives you a higher opportunity, all things being
Yes.
equal. Okay. Eben, regarding do you think there is some kind of programs which are favored for visas over others?
For in terms of visa acquisition,
Mm-hmm.
there is no one thing that determines your
Okay.
visa acquisition.
Okay.
I am of the belief that it depends on how you structure yourself or you position yourself. did you get funding? Is your document strong enough to back your studies? That's one thing. So even sometimes, like I told you in my case, when I had full funding, but I was denied. Why?
Yeah, yeah.
Because of my responses to questions.
Mm-hmm.
So, how you have built yourself over time, or in Danny's case, that he was denied about 3 occasions, and how he went about learning from each experience or each denial made him the best, as at the time he was granted.
Mm-hmm.
So, it is not about the A of it or the B of it. I think that the encapsulation of yourself, the document that you are presenting about yourself, that we are going to base on that to ask you questions. But a chunk of it come together to, support what my other colleagues, Danny and Osmond, has already said, that funding really is the issue. Because earlier last year, I think a professor, a friend of mine, sent me an email that the rate at denial at the center is huge.
Alarming.
Yes, they were saying that now there was a statement. I didn't verify that. He said that they were saying that now they will issue visa only when you have funding. So here they are not talking about program, but their concern is funding, because some people have come to the United States and they are stranded, they have overstayed, because they don't have where to go, and all these things they are really capturing them in their system. And so when you have a strong funding or like a full funding, that really places you at a higher rate. That then the other things come together. You see, Danny was adding to the issue of DS 160, the
Mm-hmm.
things that you put in your DS 160, if you don't fill them well, you are going to answer to them. You have this. I had Osmond as my fund, my sponsor. Then maybe some few days to the interview. Now I changed to Danny. So whatever came and Danny came into the scene. Osmond is not in the scene no more. I didn't go back to the DS 160 to change that. So Osmond is still there in the system. That is reflecting in their portal. So when they open, they are seeing Osmond. Now they come to ask me who is sponsoring your trip. I am talking about Danny Legend. What are you telling us? I'm sorry, I cannot grant you the visa at this time. You can come again next time. So with your first question, you have goofed. That's why you talk about why do people not go. So how you respond to the question, your approach. Sometimes relax in communicating with them. They are not angels; they are humans like ourselves, and they want to interact with us in a friendly and natural conversation manner. Some people go and they rattle like no. Take your
Memorize chew and pour.
exactly like
Okay.
a well-rehearsed thing. So in terms of program and the visa granting, their correlation, I really say it is not that significant. I would
All
really say, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Danny hand was up. I will go back to him. And then one question you should think about, please. This will be my last question for sure. I know that you have really spent enough time. And before then, people are asking for Osmond and Eben's LinkedIn. So you can send to me in the private chat, and I'll put it here. I've also put out our WhatsApp group. Their WhatsApp group, we give the tips about study abroad tips, how to do it yourself, and all these speakers are on that platform. So if you join, you'll be able to access any of us at any time. But please, when you are coming, just prepare yourself adequately. Don't be, just join and then we will take it up from there. So, the last question I was going to ask for you to think about whilst Danny give us what he wants to give us is that there is another popular saying that the embassies they have quotas, and sometimes when they have exceeded their quotas, um, then it doesn't matter what information you have, they will reject you. I'm not so sure about how relevant and where people are getting this uh, perception from. if you have anything to share on that one, think about it, and when I come to you, you can tell me, or you can tell our audience. Yeah, Danny.
Oh, okay. So when Eben was talking about the fact that visa rejections have gone up, I was only signaling that yes, they are going up. Visa
Oh,
rejections.
okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
also feel that, like you said, reading the mock, I see a lot around mock,
Transcript.
um
People's
m-
transcripts.
no, mock interview questions and how to answer them, right? And like you said, some people will just go and chew and pour without personalizing the what they read,
Mm.
you know. And I feel like the visa officers, they are aware that these documents are there. And trust me, when you read the documents, they are different from when when I'm interacting with you right now. You are giving specific reasons, specific situation and stuff. And so probably the fact that these documents are there should not earn it for the preparation. Apart from reading to understand, you should also craft your responses in your own way that aligns with the study program, and that will make the information yours than borrowed, than presenting it as something you have memorized and you are sharing, as Eben has emphasized. So my last question, can you attempt it and then we will take it up from there? Do you remember the question?
What was the question, please?
The
You were
question
saying the
was,
quota, right?
yes, yes, yes,
And maybe the
yes.
others will start.
Do you
Personally,
think?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay,
Oh,
I
okay.
think for me, what I can say is that I know for Canada, right? Canada could
Hmm.
say that I mean there might be people who also are considering Canada, so I could just say it.
Okay,
Canada could say that this year our immigration quota is 500,000. We are only taking 500,000 people. So they tend to reject. So if the 500,000, they are picking 300,000 workers and maybe 100,000 students. They tend to do a lot of visa rejections for students who are coming who don't have funding
okay,
because they are trying to also match up with the immigration. And I feel that some way, somehow, even if the US does not outrightly say it, right? If they don't even say it that, oh, we are taking 1 million, I think that somewhere in the inner circle, they know how much they want to allow into the country. Because
okay,
nobody is going to say that I want to allow as much as 50 million people or 100 million people. Like it's also going to put some strain on the economy. So, in as much as they might not say it outright or come on the public to say that, hey, we only take 2 million people this year, some way, somehow in the inner circle, they know that they will be cutting off a lot of entry. That's what I think, though.
oh, okay. Thank you very much, Danny. Eben, anything to say about that one?
I was trying to go on that. That's generally if it's a perception or internal thing that they want people to know, or as we say, it's a misconception. They say that no, they don't have quota for students. They assess students based on their individual merit, their information, their document. So if you merit it, why not? For them, what I read, they say they don't have any quota for these F1 visas. They only assess students' application, and based on merit, they grant the visas.
Thank you very much. Before we started this program, when I shared the flyers, some people saw it and they gave some insightful points, and you have addressed all of them. But I'm just going to read it quickly to um, our audience to see that even though somebody didn't join, he is in USA, he's in Canada, but they are saying some things that already support what you have presented. It says that um, I see you are leading a seminar in US visa application. I have a friend who was recently denied a visa because the officer does not think that she would return to Ghana. One thing you need to emphasize is economic, religious, and social ties in Ghana. This is often difficult to prove, and it is often at the discretion of the officer unless there is a guarantee for a full scholarship. Just my thought. And then he went further to say, also, one of the key things every visa officer looks for is proof that you will return. They see every applicant as a potential immigrant. This is important to bear in mind. I had several diplomats in my church in Korea here. I serve as a pastor. And most of the European countries, they were all part of my church. So I know a bit about the process. So they are in US and stuff, and they were all part of his church. So just confirming or even adding to the ties and the other aspect, the funding aspect you have spoken about. So I want to thank you all for your time and for your insightful information. I have shared their links on over here at the comment section. You can always reach out to any of them. I have also shared the link to our WhatsApp group. When you come to the WhatsApp group, I would introduce you to Danny, Eben, and then Osmond, and you can reach out to them. But also get your documents and your information right, so because nobody has too much time to spare, so that they can give you the exact help you need whenever possible. I want to thank you all for your time and for everything. If need be, we would organize another session and discuss other important issue if the questions come that we need to address. And thank you for being reliable speakers that we can always count on. God bless you all.
Thank you
Amen.
so
And
much
same
for
to
having
you
us.
too.
Bye.
You're welcome. Yeah.
I will end on the note that we should be joyful that others are succeeding because they are there also to help us.
Yeah, and I feel like the essence of information or getting information is to share for the benefit of others. I mean, I was inspired by what Danny is doing. I'm in Czech Republic. I have experience in Czech Republic, but I know that probably Danny is not reaching everybody. I also know people who come to me asking for assistance, and I don't have all the knowledge, but at least I know where to find the resources and bring them together to help the other people. So I feel like there should not be cause for competition if people are succeeding.
Mm.
We should always pray and aspire to be like them, and ask for the ways. And at least sometimes even a healthy competition is good for building success or for helping people reach their maximum capability. So yeah, I agree with you. We have to be happy that people are succeeding, because in the end we stand to benefit from their successes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
true.
Let's
Thank
meet
you.
some other
Bye.
time. Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you for having us. Bye.
Mhm.
You're welcome. Oh.